right, let's jump into this. But before we do, I just want to say that I have not gone through this. When you see me doing this video, I'm seeing it for the first time. And I don't have a strong history of rail. So I just point out, read a little bit of what's there. This is the German language version. I did not find an English language version of this catalog. So with that going to be said, Roco is, after American, probably my second favorite company. They make great stuff for the American system. But a lot of stuff they only make for 2-rail, especially their rolling stock. Only very special things will they make 3-rail versions of it. Their locomotives, most of the locomotives don't make a 3-rail version. And Roco will often make 3 versions. They'll make an analog 2-rail, a digital 2-rail, and then anything they make for 3-rail is digital. So with that said, let's get into it. Great cover, 2 Vectrons, which I assume will be showing up. And that looks like Berlin on a Swiss one. Beautiful picture there. So realistic, the terrain they've built in the front there. All right, and an Aero 1 train. So let's see what's up here. And we start right off with it. Class 85, little 040 shunting steamer, which they are not releasing in an AC version. Probably just felt it was too small somehow to do it. And a small 4-car set to go with it, which is kind of cool looking, but an Austrian. It reminds me a little bit of my Bavarian Aero 1 set I got from Herb. Very similar cars, and I've got 2 sets of Roco coaches kind of like this. Okay, a city shuttle. And there we have a diesel Taurus. It's a 2016. I did not even know the first few years I was in the model that there were even diesel versions of the Taurus. And I don't even know if they call this version a Taurus, but it's the same thing, looks identical to a Taurus, and the nomenclature is the same. 1016 is an E64 Taurus, and would this be a D64 because E is electrical unit and this is a diesel? Either way, it's cool looking. You know, I mean, if it were a Deutsche Bahn version, I might put it on the maybe list. This is just one. Joyce and I did ride city shuttles, so these cars are tempting. The one has directional lighting that works in analog, but it also has a decoder for digital. And if you have the digital, if you use it in digital, then you can also control the long distance, fog lights, as we used to call them, your high beams and your low beams and that as well. But cool, and a very nice set of cars. Not going to pre-order those, but if I saw them in a shop or my next trip to, let me see, I might pick them up because Joyce and I did ride the city shuttles. And there is, speaking of a Taurus, there is a Taurus, the electrical Taurus. Now, this would not normally be tempting, but my Railjet Taurus that I currently have is the only one I have, and it gets run a lot. Although I have slowed down running it, and it still runs great. It's starting to show its age a little bit, which is terrible to say, but these new modern things just don't have the staying power, I think, as some of the older ones. Anyhow, this one, based on the picture below it, where it's running with some Deutsche Bahn IC coaches, they're releasing that as 3-rail, but I wonder if this is going to have standard couplings or if one end is going to be a standard coupling and one end is going to be the pin couplings that they use to connect to railjets. I'm thinking this might be just standard couplings only so that you can run this. But it does have an adapter, so you can, they always come with an adapter so you can, so I could run this with my Railjet. It just wouldn't control the Railjet lights and so forth. It would be different. So that actually is, believe it or not, a bit of a temptation. All right, let's go through. Some cool flatbeds with Rungen, which, basically pipe pole. Think of a ladder. They call them rungs on a ladder, Rungen. And a really cool Belgian Class 186 freight locomotive. And now that is clearly Swiss, SBB. So you've got a Gepäcktriebwagen, so a luggage multiple unit, a service train, a Betriebswagen service train, and then some passenger coaches. Seetalbahnwagen, the Lake Valley Rail coach. After once again, nach langer Zeit wieder im Roco Sortiment. So after a long time, Roco's releasing them again. So, cool looking. And there is one of those two Vectrons for the Swiss Cargo International. This one with a... Now, they released this with almost that identical livery, but in blue highlights. And so everything that's blue in the original, they've now made red. And it looks cool. I got to admit, it looks cool. I don't buy Swiss stuff. Just I have no connection to the Swiss. I've been in Switzerland once, and I haven't branched my trains into Switzerland yet. I mean, there are Swiss trains I do like, whether it's a Swiss IC or the Glacier Express has always tempted me, which would look silly running on my flat layout. Gorgeous, gorgeous Vectron. And there's the other one that we saw on the cover with, yes, clearly a Berlin. So this Bundestag Berlin is the name of this one, of this particular 193. And it's a cool livery, but I don't need it. All right, BLS, electric locomotive, and a 44172. BLS is a Swiss rail company, a private Swiss company. It actually has two generations. There's 1906, I think it was founded, maybe 1907, and it was merged with another company, and the two companies combined became BLS AG, and that's considered a separate company. That it's not the same company. So BLS AG has been around for about 20 years. But you'll still see BLS lettering with this type of lettering on modern era stuff. In fact, you can read it right there. This is an Era 6. And then a very standard, and I don't say that in a negative way, Class 186 industrial, goods hauler. I have a 186 by Whirlpool. That was a gift of a channel friend. Shame for that. And then a bunch of... I think we call them well cars. I don't know if these classify as well, but in German it's Niederflurwagen, which means deep floor wagon. Niederflur. Nieder is low. So a whole set of them, rolling roads and such. But cool. And some more Swiss Era 4 and 5 goods wagons, open goods wagons, and then some Era 6 you got an ore car and another basically open goods. And then they're releasing a second class Steuerwagen, and they're going to release an AC version of it too. Ooh, interesting. Are there AC cars? Let's look. I kind of like that, but again, I'm not going to get one. Nope, because we're going straight to a Czech train. Big class 73 Era 5. So this would be Czechoslovakia at that time, although really Era 5 covers the period after the divorce of Czech Republic and Slovakia, although the Czech Republic is now Czechia. You say Czechia now, and Slovakia. So you got this Czech or Czechoslovak big hauler, 753. Kind of a cool livery. And then some tarpaulin cars and such to go with it. This Dampf Lokomotive der Gattung, a 2/2, a 2x2. And again, this tiny one, they're not releasing in a 3-rail, probably because they just can't figure out a way to attach their version of the Märklin shoe to run it, which is, I'd say, a shame, because I'm sure there are some 3-rail guys that would like this, and Märklin hasn't released it, although Märklin is releasing the Glaskasten, which looks a lot like this one. And then some Royal State of Bavaria, little guy there, and then some little freight cars to go with it. Pretty cool if you're into that era. And here's a slightly bigger one, and then those cars look a lot like my, yeah, yeah, those look a lot like my Bavarian, and of course they say Bavarian on them, but those are Rocos, so I'm assuming that this car set is just a re-up, a remake, a reissue, maybe remade of the Bavarian cars I got from her. Very sharp, very sharp. Speaking of very sharp, look at this guy, Class 38. The tender is different than my Class 38, and obviously the color is. I like this a lot. I like this a lot. Not going to buy it, but to have it in dark green is kind of cool because it offsets all the black. But that's a very sharp loco there. Very sharp. And some more, but different. Do those look like those cars that were there? Yeah, a couple of them are similar. I have two different sets of Roco Era 1, and these are Era 2, of course, but that makes a nice rake there. That's kind of cool if you're into that era. And I can look at it and say it's cool, and no, I'm not going to buy it. All right, what is that, reticulated? I forget exactly how they call that. Not articulated, but reticulated. Where it's got the axle in the middle, but heavy-duty diesel, Class 188. And then below it, is that a Henschel? But your little diesel shunter, Era 3 and 4. And a couple of covered post goods wagons to go with it. Era 3, 4, Era 3, 4, or to go with the shunter there. But since, yeah, the Doppellokomotive, they call it a double locomotive. Very cool. Very sharp Class 141. Joyce and I, in 2023 in Freiburg, rode a train that had a Class 141, but not in this livery, that worked with our train. So very, very cool. But this is listed as Era 4 and 5. So very sharp there. And some coaches maybe it would have pulled Nahverkehr, or N-Wagen as we call them. Nahverkehr simply means near traffic, so commuter. Kind of a cool looking Steuerwagen at the top there. Unfortunately, they're only doing it in 2-rail. With a little work, you can make it 3-rail, but you got to add the shoe and you got to change the wiring and so on and so on. A couple additional cars to add to it. Fleischmann, yep. All right, Interregios. Unterwegs im Interregio. On the way in an Interregio. The old IRs. And then it went from IRs and IREs to REs and RBs. And now it's just, the nomenclature keeps changing. But Class 103 in red. I would like a Class 103 in modern red. This is Era 5. I've got a 103. There are two other 103s I want. A Lufthansa Express 103. And then I would like it in the current Verkehrsrot, the traffic red of Germany. And then a Steuerwagen, which again, only being released in 2-rail. Digital or non-digital. But 2-rail, no 3-rail. Nothing consistent for Miracle. Now, see, I could get all these cars, and I could run them. I could even run that Steuerwagen on my layout. It wouldn't affect anything. You can't go the other way. You can't take Miracle stuff and run it on your 2-rail stuff. It'll short your system out because Miracle wheels are not insulated. These are insulated for 2-rail, but that doesn't matter because Miracle, the pickup isn't on the 2 rails. The pickup is in the middle. Man, that would be a really cool set. I don't have a connection to these. They'd make a gorgeous train. It's not my era, I say, but yeah, it was a classic looking train. And then you had green ones and same thing, but green, and even some that were reddish. And it was just which parts of Germany and so forth they were running. All right. Beautiful Class 50. That is a very, very nice one. That's a very sharp Class 50 steam locomotive. I got one. I will say that looks better than mine from Miracle because my Miracle's an older one, not as detailed. That's just very detailed and looks very sharp sitting there. Very nice. And they are making a 3.0 version. I won't be getting it. And some Era 4 passenger cars for East Germany. The Deutsche Reichsbahn. the DR for the DRG. And then the sleeping cars, the Mitzwopas, dining car, and a baggage wagon. All right, very cool. Very cool. And that should make a nice little train. Do they have a picture of it? No. So is Roco releasing some more double-deckers? This is a Class 112, it looks like. And bing! Oh, do they advertise it as somewhat weathered? Because that looks kind of weathered. Just slightly weathered. But they're not saying it, so maybe it's just a picture and lighting. Class 112, which they're saying is Era 6. These have technically been pulled from service, but they are being used. It's so many things are listed as pulled from service, and then they're out there. And then you got a little Zogatank, a Schiebplanenwagen, a tarpaulin car, and then a couple of French flatbeds, Niederbordwagen, low board, low framed cars there for Era 3 and 4. It's interesting. Are they anything else French? Well, yes, a French hauler right there. That is a Class 150, which I've only recently learned about because I was looking for a French locomotive to go with the French cars I got from David Scott Rails, and a bunch of these kept coming up, but these are freight haulers. And it's gorgeous. They are making a 3-rail version of it, but I can get a Märklin Class 150 older for a lot cheaper than this will cost. I'm assuming that's going to be relatively expensive, you know, $500, $600 range maybe. And then, oh, that's interesting. I hadn't seen this before. That looks a little like a Trax 2, but it's not saying. But it is a French electric passenger locomotive, I should say. And it is coming out in DC. I'm not branching into French trains, other than I got some older French cars and I had to buy a locomotive from them. But this is kind of cool. And so what do we have? Do we have the cars to go with it? Well, not there, but that's a picture of it in service, looking kind of old and beat up there. Nope, we go straight to a giant Ludmilla, but for Hungary, an M62. Well, no, that's not Ludmilla. I apologize. I shouldn't call that Ludmilla, but it's a big, big dude. It's a big diesel Hungarian, and then below it, a Taurus, an E64. I just call it a Taurus, and pretty much everybody I know calls it a Taurus. For cargo. So kind of cool. I don't have Austrian cargo, so I don't need an Austrian cargo train. Here is an Italian diesel, Era 3 and 4, little diesel shunter. That's kind of interesting. Looks like it's all just probably because it's brown. And then some Hungarian freight, maybe to go with that up there. And then some Italian freight next to that to go with this one. So that big, what was it, M62, which is Era 4. Yeah, that would be some freight to go with that, I'd assume. And then some Italian freight here to go with that little Italian diesel shunter. Speaking of Italian, this is a 189 in this livery. I have seen this on Vectrons that these other channels have. I was just looking at the livery, but so yeah, it's not a re-release. It's a Class 189. The other ones I've seen this livery on are Vectrons. But either way, very sharp. 189. I like that. Not that I'm getting an Italian train. I have an Italian train, but this is not a Vectron. That is 189, and they are releasing a 3-rail version. Cool. And here is a Dutch 1750 Rail Force 1. In the Märklin, I just pointed out that they were releasing a dual mode extra size that I really like. And I will say right now, if you look at this Roco one, the colors are much more vibrant, and it's weird to say vibrant when you're talking grayscale with the little red hashes, but much more vibrant in this picture than the Märklin dual mode Vectron Rail Force One that I'm considering ordering. And then some Dutch, again, tarpaulin cars. So that's cool. I mean, I like that livery. And a bunch of Polish era 3 and 4 coaches and wagons. Kind of cool. And continuing on with Poland. Oh, that's interesting. Era 5 and 6. The Mitz Trans, which I assume is a Polish. I don't know if is it PKP, but it's a diesel. It's a 232. That's a Ludmilla. So it's a freight hauler, and then the matching self unloading cars with it. That would be a pretty cool rake along if you're into your Polish trains. That would be a cool train to have. And some not quite so special, but earlier era anyhow, freight cars there. So that's cool for Poland. And then a Swedish Class 482. Now 482s, those are they 182s, 185s that, you know, the Deutsche Bahn trucks that I have so many of, and the Swedes give them a different nomenclature, but yeah, it's a Swedish freight hauler. They are making an AC version. I like it, but I don't do Swedish trains either. But cool, sharp looking livery. Here's another big dude. This is Slovakia, because I can occasionally get confused between Slovakia and Slovenian, but a big monster guy there, and some cool coaches behind it. Are they going to release the coaches with it? That's a big dude. That's kind of, it's kind of one of those big squarey bread box type locos, but at the same time, the livery makes it stand out better. So in this case, it's kind of a cool looking locomotive. All right. And now, so we must be getting towards the end of this because they're advertising lighting. So lighting for HO wagons. So they've got some lighting sets that they're going to do. LED lighting for HO coaches. And you can buy these sets for whatever you're doing. And then, yeah, we're at the end because now here's the model numbers. So, okay. I think we have reached the end. Oh, just some cool pictures of Roco models in action on some beautiful layouts, and then any notes you want to make. But yeah, not a bad catalog. A lot of pretty items there. I don't know that it was better or worse than the Märklin. Just nothing that drastically tempts me. To be honest, the biggest temptation was the Taurus. Just to have another railjet that I could also use with my Austrian and German ICs, because they all take turns pulling them depending on the routes. But to have that railjet locomotive, the Taurus, also just to every now and then sub it out, run my railjet boat, run it with the newer guy, to have a couple of those railjets. So anyhow, yeah. A little bit bigger catalog, I think, than the Märklin one. So that was for me the biggest temptation is the Taurus. A lot of gorgeous things. The 38 in green steam locomotive, gorgeous. The Class 50 steam locomotive, and people are teasing me already that we've converted you to steam. Steam is still. I've bought a lot of steam lately, but that's because I've got a lot of stock and things that require steam locomotives to go with it. I'm still a modern era guy at heart. But I have branched. And I've enjoyed, and I've always said that even when I'm not into steam, that I do appreciate the beauty of a steam locomotive. I appreciate because of the work that people did, and everything was kind of on the outside, so they can be pretty. And Roco's got some pretty ones there, some cute ones with a couple of little guys there. But obviously, it's everybody's era, and I know a lot of people that watch this aren't even European trained people, but that's what Roco's got for the fall. These are things in addition to their mainline stuff they announced in January. So nothing I'm going to pre-order. Maybe when next time I'm in Germany, Austria, I'll take a look, and see if something's on the shelves. So anyhow, I want to thank you all for sticking around this long. It's a half-hour video. Until the next time, I'm going to say Auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, and happy trains. Take care, everybody.